The opening of the film starts with her face. And I chose this image because so many people, not so many people, but some very well-known producers who I spoke with when I was trying to get producers attached to the film were basically like, no one cares about the story of a young black woman coming of age. No one cares about a black woman. So choosing to open on her face, even the black of the title, Summer of Violence, and then there's that single note that you hear. And in my mind, it was almost like, we're gonna set the tone, like almost like, you know how meditation, there's like a single note, there's a chime, and then we come to her face. It was like I was trying to bring the audience in to her world. And this is why, honestly, it plays so well in the theater because, you know, the lights are out, it's dark, and the screen is black. And then the words come up on the screen and you hear the single sound, and then you hear her face. So it's really all so intentional. It's so intentional to transport you on her journey because I wanted to take you on this journey and to understand why she was doing what she was doing and the wants and to go on the roller coaster of this summer with her. So that was why I chose her face as that image. And I struggled with it a couple of ways. So it's set in the 90s and I really wanted you to love her, you to like her. And it's tricky with femininity and portraying a woman on screen. There's always the issue of attractiveness. Are they going to like her? I mean, I hate to even quote a very amazing mentor of mine who always said your characters had to be, right? And as an actor, as you're playing them, you know, you need to be wanted because that's who people pay to go to the movies to see. They want to F Brad Pitt, they want to F Tom Cruise or Michael B. Jordan, and that's why they go. So women are always sexual, and not just women, men and women are basically sexual objects to entice you to spend your money and go to the movies. So I'm creating this character, and I want to tell the story about this woman that didn't have anything to do with about being a sexual object, but could I tell a story about a woman and not intentionally build her up as a sex object? I don't know, it was very complicated for me. It was very hard because I also wanted to be true to the time period and how black women wore their hair or one of the ways that was most popular, let's just say. And yet I knew that I could make her more attractive if I did a certain wig and baby hair or this and that. I mean, I could do it up, right? I could like glam it up and make her effable, right? Even though she's beautiful, and that's not the issue. The issue is about what does society deem as sexy and sexual and desire, and would I make that? So that's why choosing to open on her face, choosing to keep the character grounded in the reality of the time and a real person, these are big choices. What was she wearing? I had a lot of struggles with the costumes because it was period. So there's a lot of things coming up against, but choosing to open on her image, choosing to keep her a grounded character, regardless of the sexual objectification that people like to put on women. I tried to just present a human, a woman having an experience, telling a story, because I feel like, right, that's who we are. You know, we're people having an experience in life, and I wanted to connect on that level. She's kind of trapped in her upbringing. You know, she's trapped in being a good girl. She's trapped in doing well. She's trapped by being smart. She's trapped by kind of wanting to live up to the expectations of her parents, of her culture, and yet really wanting to be this artist. So it's a woman at a crossroads, you know, being so capable of doing many, many things, but kind of being called by her art to tell poetry. So, you know, it's not like she had really had a lot of experience in that or support in that. So kind of a dreamer who has to decide, are you gonna keep dreaming or are you gonna actually do this? And I feel like we're meeting this young woman, this smart, capable, intelligent, amazing young woman who is trying to step out of this comfort bubble that her parents have given her. I would absolutely make a choice to follow my dreams. Absolutely, without a doubt. I would absolutely, I don't know that I would defy my parents like that because I didn't face the crux hole that she did. That Naomi had to go against her parents and be willing to be, you know, cut off. Now, that wasn't a choice I had to make. Now, would I have done that? Would I have done it if my parents were going to disown me? I don't know. I mean, that's tricky because, I was such a daddy's girl. But I think it's a really interesting character who is willing to put it all on the line to make a choice. I thought that was the most exciting way to approach the story. My parents, when I decided to become an artist, my parents supported me, so that wasn't really, I didn't have that conflict. But what if they didn't? How much would you give up? How much would it mean to you? And I feel like that was the stronger choice because I wrote the script too, where a character had to make a really big, high stakes choice, so that when we get into act two, it's a whole different world, because that choice that leads you from act one to act two, that puts you on the journey. So it had to be, the choice she had to make had to be big enough to where act two was completely different world, right? Because act two is the journey. Act one's the setup. And act two, whether you started on page 30 or page 22, 25, there has to be a decision that the main character makes to set her on that journey. And it has to be an external goal. What do you want, right? And then act two is the journey of trying to get that want. And then it gets really interesting. That's exciting. That's extraordinary. One of my acting teachers used to say, there's only two types of characters. There is an ordinary person in an extraordinary situation, or an extraordinary person in an ordinary situation. And then for Naomi, to make that choice makes her extraordinary. Because most of us don't. Most of us don't make that choice. It's too scary. It's too dangerous. It's too unknown. It's just too much. So it makes her an extraordinary person in a really ordinary situation. Like, I'm going to go do this with my life. That's extraordinary. I'm a big fan of Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles. What are some of the other ones? Those are the ones I grew up with in the 90s. And I love kind of finding your way, or stories about finding your way. It feels like life or death. I know coming of age, I think, always gets the knock that it's soft. But these characters, these characters living in that time, for them, it's like these life or death choices. Who am I going to be? And I just think that's such an exciting genre, really. And a lot of times it's love, because, who you love has such a dramatic impact on what your life becomes. So these, coming of age is really that first big decision that you make kind of outside the comfort of your parents' home or whatever home you grew up in. Coming of age, where you start becoming cognizant of your decisions. So I feel like it's just such an exciting story where it can go a whole lot of ways. And I think coming of age can be in any genre. I mean, I think in some ways, a lot of times we talk about hero's journey and we think, of course, of men, and they're on this big epic journey. We got the Odyssey coming out, all awesome. But in some ways too, a coming of age story can be a smaller hero's journey, because it's your own personal heroic journey. And I like it because it's really relatable for me. And I think also because I found those films, they kind of help explain you to yourself when you're growing up, because I think that's what art can do, is it can reflect back some of the questions and challenges that we have in real life in a way, and help us work it out, or even think it through in a way that maybe we hadn't. And so I think kind of doing coming of age and being inspired by a lot of those coming of age love stories and those things, I wanted to see a Black woman at the center of it. I'm trying to remember if I can even think. I don't have like a one about a Black woman that comes to mind. Not that they don't exist, but I just don't have one like immediately that came to my mind. And I think that's why it was so important for me to make Summer of Violence, because I felt like, having been in the industry, having played the characters, I felt like we didn't have enough stories about just us as regular women making regular choices, everyday choices. I wanted to be as regular as possible, because I don't think we're that different. I think there's a relatable quality that we have as Black women that's missed, because, I don't know, they're so busy objectifying us or othering us. We were limited by our budget. Doing a period film and costuming is very expensive, and I just didn't think about that when I was writing, and I was kind of running into it when we were having to come up with all these outfits that you can't just go buy off the rack. And so I knew I wanted to open on her face, but I also had this graduation scene, or I didn't have a graduation scene. Now, I was lucky enough to get the university to film on campus. That was amazing, to be able to film on a university campus. But it wasn't like I could fill up a stand with thousands of people at the time. I mean, we didn't have a CGI budget. There wasn't AI in the way that it is today. So we couldn't really create it. So we let the sound fill it.
I'm very honored to be here with you this day. To the faculty, staff, and to all of the graduates of the class of 1993. Congratulations.
Those are some of the limitations of the budget, but I think what we did, and this is what you do when you have your resources, you do what you can do, and that's where we had our graduation. So I wanted to create that in sound, so what I couldn't do visually, because also I don't really know that it would have paid off to see all those people and the graduation and to come in on her face as she's trying to make her decision about her life. I honestly think it made it more powerful and I think me and the DP, Ben Kitchens, we were thinking about just walking, the beauty of the campus, her feet, her face, and this kind of magical realism where we're in her head and the sound is in her head and it's in your head because you're in the theaters and it's meant to come from all sides around you. That's how he designed the sound. It was super important, designing the sound so that it puts you in that place. And I actually think that this was a great way to do it. So sometimes it's funny, your lack of resources give you a choice that I think further support what I was trying to tell, the narrative I was trying to tell with the film. So that part I think is something we can all learn, is sometimes, instead of let the resources you have kind of help you be more creative and shape and sharpen and your vision and what the story is. So all of these elements, the sound, the campus, the location we had, the actress, the world, keeping her in the way that I did, all of this sort of paints a picture and tells a story and sets us up on this really fantastic journey. And the other thing I really think, I don't know that the graduation would have been anything more than a distraction.